Howdy folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am your host, Mighty Bjorn, and today I'm out here at the range, so I am outdoors. Kind of a cloudy day, but I want to get some training in today, pistol, rifle, so on and so forth. But I've been seeing a lot of stuff recently about the Weaver stance, and I want to talk a bit about the Weaver stance because I've been seeing a lot of naysayers about the Weaver stance, and understand I'm actually going to take time. I'm going to cover this in a series of videos, because I also want to talk about the isosceles as well as the there's two one-handed pistol stances I know. So today I want to focus on the Weaver stance itself. Now, let's start off with the misconceptions. A lot of people are saying it's an old, outdated stance, that it doesn't work. Honestly, it still works. It's the stance I've pretty much used my whole life. I've also used it when I went through the military, and I did shoot sharpshooter with the Beretta M9, so that's pretty damn accurate. Basically, I missed one target when doing the pistol qualification, which, I might have shot through another hole and the target didn't go down, but either ways. Now, there's one major misconception I want to talk about before I get into the other misconceptions. Just give me a moment. I want to make some adjustments here to the camera, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so here's the first major misconception. A lot of people say that the Weaver stance is not a very mobile stance. Well, I'm not sure about you, but yeah, my feet aren't in concrete. I have two of them. I can move around, as you can see. Most people have two of them. Not everybody has two of them for various different reasons. But here's the thing about it. If you're standing in a Weaver stance, you have 2 feet. Whoever's out there saying that the Weaver stance is not a mobile stance is wrong, because you have 2 feet. Footwork. Learn how to use it. Let's get into some other misconceptions. Okay, so to get that first conception out of the way, which I always felt was the most ridiculous conception about the Weaver stance, is it's not a mobile stance. And what that I think has to do with is there's a lot of instructors, and I've noticed these are more of the anti-Weaver stance people, that are absolutely wrong about the Weaver stance. Let me show you a couple things. First thing I've been seeing with the Weaver stance, I've seen people completely even teach this wrong, just how you place your feet. I've seen them argue that you place your feet like so, where basically this heel is aligned with my other heel, which that's actually incorrect in itself. I've seen people explain that you lock your knees. That's a big negative. Don't lock your knees. You know, actually let me reset the camera here so you can get a better angle, see what's going on. Okay, now I left off with, some of these instructors seem to think you lock your knees. You straighten your legs. You straighten your legs out as much as you can. That's a big negative. Don't do that. You'll pass out. Next thing I've been seeing a lot of. Okay, handgun is empty. Put your arm straight out. And I can't even put my arm straight out. I naturally have a slight bend in my arm. I see one instructor where he was literally making his students lock their elbow and then bringing their front hand out and then pulling back. Okay, folks, that's a big negative. That's not how it's done either. First off, let's start with the feet part. Now, when I get in a Weaver stance, I put my one foot out, and then my other foot is slightly off. Okay? It's about a 30-degree angle right now is what I hold between my feet, between the insides of the bridges of my feet. Okay? Now my one toe is pointed towards the target. My other toe right now is actually pointed towards the camera, as you can see. Now, I keep a slight bend in my knees. Okay? You don't need a lot, you just need a slight bend. You can bend as much as you want, but the straighter you have your legs, the better. Obviously, don't lock your knees. Just a slight bend is good enough. Next thing, when it comes to your firearm, okay? You put your arm up, your shoulders back, okay? Slight bend. See if I can roll my sleeve up high enough. It is kind of cold out here today. Okay. Slight bend in your elbow. Slight bend. Okay? And you take your other hand, your left hand, and you put it in front of your primary shooting hand. And that elbow is really bent. Okay? Now, you don't pull back into your hand. There's a lot of misconception there. You don't have to pull back. Your body's naturally pulling back into your hand because of the difference in angles of your hand and elbows and etc. It's doing it naturally. Body mechanics is a powerful thing. Okay? Now, when it comes to moving, okay, I have my handgun out. I have just engaged a target. I'm pulling my sleeve back down. This is kind of embarrassing. It's not exactly warm out here, folks. It's actually only about 40 degrees right now. Okay, that's Fahrenheit, not Celsius. I live in America, we speak American. Okay, now when I want to approach a target, okay, I'm going to lead off with my right foot. Now you notice that my right foot is pointed at the camera right now. What I'm going to do when I step off is turn my ankle. Okay, you see what I did there? Let's do it again. Turn my ankle. See how my feet are pointed straight now? Okay, and then I'm going to approach the target. It's not complex. You can move in a Weaver stance. Footwork. If I need to go to the left or the right. You see what I mean? If I need to go backwards. It's not, I don't understand this concept of you get in your pistol stance and your feet are in concrete. Unless you're in the isosceles stance. You can move in an isosceles stance apparently, but you can't move in a Weaver stance. Or at least that's what I'm getting from pistol instructions online. It's far from the truth, folks. Now, benefits about the Weaver stance versus the isosceles, which I'm going to cover the isosceles in a future video. Essentially, I feel that the Weaver stance is a much more accurate stance. That's probably more to do with me, my training, my upbringing, my experience gun shooting than anything else. I have nothing against the Weaver. I have nothing against the isosceles. I actually use both stances. And honestly, if you're going to take the time, commit yourself to being a firearms shooter, I recommend you do the same as well. But whatever stance you do find that you enjoy using, go ahead, use. But I mean, here's the thing about it. Don't be fooled by the naysayers. The pistol stance works just fine. It always has. And to just throw out there too, the information I'm throwing out here at you, the knee's a slight bend, the elbow, slight bend. You know, guys like Paul Harrell, Masad Ayub, even Jack Weaver himself says all this stuff. The Weaver stance is a fighting stance. So think of a boxer, okay? See how my knees are slightly bent, my hands are up. That's the point. When you fight with a sword and shield, which I've done a lot of sword and shield fighting. I used to do European type martial arts. Once again, foot's pointed off in that direction. My weak side foot is pointed directly towards you. The reason my weak side foot is pointed forward is because right here would be my shield. Okay? If I have a sword, you know, it's going to be back like this. That's pretty much all I got to say about that. The next thing to keep in mind too is don't get like super serious uptight about stances. The main thing about a stance, okay, yes, this is a proper stance. This is a good place to start. This is a good place to start when I'm getting ready to engage a target. Okay? But you know what? I can do this just as well. Okay? I'm not trying to shoot a bazooka. I'm shooting a handgun. I'm shooting, well, today I have a 9mm. The main thing is recoil control and balance. That's the main things you have to worry about when you're using a handgun. Okay, so even though I'm a right-handed dominant shooter, if I find that my balance is better with my strong foot leading forward, then so be it. That's how I'll shoot. Now, of course, this kind of puts me in more of an isosceles than a weaver, but it's about controlling the handgun, controlling the recoil. Now, of course, because of how the isosceles and the weaver stances are set up, they're set up in a way to maximize recoil control. But no matter what, it's really all on to you. Anyway, folks, hopefully you enjoyed this instructional video about the weaver stance. Definitely hit the subscribe button if you want to see the future video where I'm going to cover the isosceles, and also I'm going to cover 2 different one-handed pistol stances, which I'm going to probably do both of those in one video. Either way, folks, thank you very much for tuning in, and have yourself a wonderful day.